My teacher's watch froze, and so did his dad. What does it mean? You know, life has a way of throwing these little things at you, these weird moments that, at the time, don't seem significant, but later on you're sitting there thinking, was that supposed to mean something? This one moment, though, still messes with my head. I was 12, sitting in math class thinking about the usual stuff. You know, how much I hated fractions, wondering if I'd survive the week without failing another test. But then, this one thing happened that, well, it wasn't just a moment, it felt like a whole ripple in time. So, we're in class, right? Mr. Carpenter, our math teacher, was a strange guy. Not in a bad way, just quirky. He had this old-school vibe about him, always wearing these mismatched sweaters and constantly adjusting his glasses like they were too big for his face. But I liked him. He was cool in a way that made math less boring. He always had these random stories about the world of numbers, about how life could be a series of equations, all leading to some kind of unknown answer. Honestly, half of the time, I didn't get it, but hey, it made math class tolerable, right? Anyway, this one day, we're all sitting there, and suddenly Mr. Carpenter stops mid-sentence. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but I remember the moment because it was just weird. He was talking about something important. Probably algebra or geometry, but whatever it was, he just halted, and then he looked at his wrist, like he was double-checking the time. His eyes widened a little, and he muttered under his breath. The entire class got quiet, and we all watched him, wondering if he was okay. He raised his wrist a little higher, and that's when I saw it. His watch. The second hand was frozen, stopped, completely still. At first, we didn't think much of it. We were kids, right? Probably just a broken watch. I mean, who wouldn't get a little flustered over something so tiny? But then he looked at us. Not like a teacher looks at students, more like he was looking for something in the room, trying to figure out some puzzle he couldn't solve. After a moment, he cleared his throat and had, "Looks like time is playing tricks on us today." We all laughed a little. It wasn't the first weird thing he had said, and honestly, none of us thought much about it. But here's where it gets a little strange. He started to rush through the lesson, like he was trying to make up for lost time. He didn't realize how much time had actually passed because of the watch malfunction. We didn't think anything of it at the time, but looking back, it's kind of eerie. He started saying things like, "We need to make up for the time we've lost," and "time waits for no one," which felt like just something teachers say to get kids to pay attention. But something about the way he was saying it, like it was personal, stuck with me. That was the last day we saw him for a while. The next day, we walked into class to find a substitute standing at the front, holding the syllabus like she was reading from a script. We didn't know what had happened to Mr. Carpenter, but no one seemed to think much of it at the time. It was just another random absence. Teachers get sick, right? I mean, who even noticed when it was our teacher, or if it was just some personal stuff? It didn't seem like anything to question, but that whole class felt off. It was as if something was lingering in the air, that weird energy from the day before, when Mr. Carpenter looked at the watch and suddenly seemed unsettled. It was almost like we had all been waiting for an explanation. Something had shifted, but none of us knew what. Days passed. Mr. Carpenter didn't come back. I think we all just assumed he was taking a break or something. A week went by, and there was no sign of him. In his place, we had a rotation of subs. Each one was just there to get through the hour. No real teaching, just busy work and the occasional lecture. No one mentioned Mr. Carpenter, and none of us questioned it. We just assumed he was on some extended leave or whatever. Life went on, right? Then, on the third or fourth day after he'd been gone, we finally got the news. I remember sitting in the lunchroom when one of the older kids from a different grade came over to me. I could tell they were trying to act all serious, like they had this grown-up information. They told me that Mr. Carpenter's father had passed away. That was the first time I heard the news. It wasn't a big deal at first. People's relatives die all the time, right? But then came the weird part. They told me the exact time he had passed away. It was exactly the moment his watch had stopped in class. Now, I didn't know what to make of that. My first reaction was probably just shock. It felt like one of those things that was too odd to be true, but I couldn't help but connect the dots. The watch had stopped, and then this guy's dad died right at that exact moment. It's like something out of a movie, you know? And as much as I tried to ignore it, that little detail stuck with me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The timing was too coincidental, too perfect. But it didn't end there. A few days after we got the news, Mr. Carpenter came back to class. I remember the way he looked when he walked through the door, like he hadn't slept in days. He was wearing the same mismatched sweater he always wore, but this time there was something different about him. He had a look in his eyes, the kind of look that someone has when they've just gone through something so heavy they can't really shake it off. The kind of look that makes you wonder if they're even still with us mentally. We all stood up and greeted him, but there was this heavy silence hanging over the room. It was almost like we could feel the weight of whatever he'd been through, and then, without saying a word, he went to the desk, sat down, and opened his book. He didn't say much for the rest of the class, but we could all tell something had changed in him. His usual jokes and quirky stories were gone. It was just different. I was trying so hard to wrap my brain around it, you know? It felt like there was a piece missing, and I couldn't figure out how to make it fit. How could something as small as a stopped watch be tied to something so massive? Was it just a coincidence? Was it all some weird random chain of events? Or was there more to it than we were willing to admit? I remember staying after class that day. I didn't mean to, but I had to know what happened. I wanted to ask him. I wanted to know if it was just a coincidence, if it was just another way to explain away the weirdness. I remember walking up to him slowly, feeling awkward, unsure of how to approach it. But when I got close, he looked up at me, his eyes heavy, but somehow aware. I stood there for a second, then I just blurted it out. "Mr. Carpenter, about the watch, was it true? Was your dad really—" He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me for what felt like an eternity. I thought maybe he hadn't heard me, or that he didn't want to talk about it. But then, in a voice so low I could barely hear it, he said, "Yes." And that was it. Just one word. The way he said it left me with more questions than answers, and for the rest of the semester I couldn't stop thinking about it. What the hell happened with the watch? Was it just a fluke, or had something more supernatural been at play? As time went on, I tried to forget about it. But how could I? It was one of those things that haunted me. The idea that a watch could stop, and in that exact moment something so monumental could happen. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, is everything connected? Can little moments hold more significance than we think? Was the watch telling us something we couldn't understand at the time? I don't have the answers. Hell, maybe there aren't any answers. But I'll tell you this, I've never looked at time the same way again. Maybe that's the lesson here. Maybe it's not about understanding the reasons behind everything, but about knowing that sometimes life just works in mysterious ways. And sometimes, the things we don't understand are the ones that shape us the most. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to catch all the exciting stories.